ways. Can hit curveballs, lazy left winger, double dribble.
Man, that's loud. I wish they could see Ryan's stoic face in the background right now.
Stoic. If he's the stoic one tonight, we're in trouble.
Yeah, we're always in trouble.
Game on!
Game on, Durst. Whoa, that's pumped up. While you're at her, grab the nets, throw the sticks in the middle. It's time for episode 50, straight off the pipe. 50. There's never been an Oiler that's worn the jersey 50, so there's no relativeness there, other than maybe we could call it a Teddy Peckman +1. Little extra episode tonight with some friends to talk about the current winning streak, the homestand, the trade deadline, the playoff picture. So with that, we've got my co-host as always, Mr. Mega Thread Mike Dursa. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, it's kind of a nice little stretch of games at home, running the table. They weren't all kind of gimmies, started off with some stiffer competition. And, there was some adversity, I think, a little bit through this, but they found a way to get it done. It's not as much doom and gloom. Jay Woodcroft has me feeling a little bit better about the playoffs coming up, and I'm interested to see if we do anything between now and the end of the deadline tomorrow, but we'll get into that, I guess. What do you guys think about the last little bit here?
Well, we'll get into that after the rest of the intros, I think. Guys asked to do one thing, really. Next up, the heavy hockey head honcho, Mr. He-Bear, my Haligonian handsome hunk, Triple H no matter what. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for the recap there, Dursa.
Thanks for the small talk, Mr. He-Bear. And last but not least, we're teeing up the star of our show, Mr. Ryan Lotzi. Whoa. I get to decide. All right. Not the guy that owns the network, not the guy that's chirping from Grand Prairie with his camouflage hat. I decide. All right. That's me. Okay, boys. So what? I was at the game on Saturday afternoon. What I witnessed was a pretty sloppy hockey game from my perspective. Looked like a little bit of a track meet. I didn't have the advantage of listening to Jack or Stoff or any of the guys call the game, so I'm not sure. I'm sure you guys had a different perspective. I just thought it was a lot of high danger chances, a lot of trading chances. And at the end of the day, we just have better finishers. I think that team reminded me of Oilers, 5 years ago with Hughes and Heischer and Jesper Bratt surprised me. Those guys look like the young Oilers from a few years ago, where they're just trying to find their goaltending, although we're still trying to find our goaltending. I don't know. I'd be interested when we get around to it to see what you guys thought of that. But we extend our current winning streak to 5 games on this homestand. It's only the 4th time in franchise history that we have gone perfect in a 5-game homestand. Yamo's on a heater. The Oil have scored 19 goals in their last 3 games, 27 in their last 5, with only 13 against. I'd say Barry's even on a mini heater. Hell, even Devin Shore's on a bit of a heater. Relatively speaking, Conor Mcdavid hits 90 points for the 6th time in his career. Only Gretzky and Hawerchuk have recorded 6 90-point seasons before the age of 26. Conor picked up a goal and 2 apples to get there. And speaking of heaters, Conor McDavid seems to be the heat right now. I feel like he might be skating faster than he ever has. And speaking of streaks earlier, with this 5-game winning streak, I think this has maybe been one of the streakiest seasons of the year. I'll maybe add it up one of these days, but what have we had? couple of 5-game winning streaks, a 6-game losing streak, a 7-game losing streak. We've had, I don't know how many times we've just went win, loss, win, but it doesn't seem like it's been a lot this year. So anyways, here we are, boys. Episode 50 already. Seems like we just started this show, but it's not much to celebrate because I'm sure we'll still do 50 more. Basically just a reminder that I've had 50 evenings in my life where Durst has pushed my giant buttons for no reason and I've had to put up with it. So maybe let's just lead it off right there. Over to you, Durst, and I'd like your input on the streak and how it's been going. Oh, wait, never mind. You did that already. So we can go to the next person. Just kidding. What'd you think?
Are you done?
Yeah,
done.
Fucking talk. Tell us something really intelligent about hockey, or update us on your feline pride fighting cat fight in the basement, whatever you want.
Actually, on that cat front, on Friday night, we had to take our cat to the emergency vet clinic have a little work done on his paw. So that actually nice segue. I don't even think you meant.
Did he land it on the other cat's orbital bone, and that cat's next to go, and you're just lining up stretchers there? Or what are the cat's names? Which one wears the title? Honestly, I think we got a scrapper on our hands, and his name's Loki, and he kind of is kind of the dark. Enough said.
The dark figure. Yeah.
Enough said. Yeah. Cool. What do you want to talk about with hockey?
Well, I think this acquisition of Evander Kane is a decent one. I don't even think he's up to full speed yet, and he's still kind of a goal every other game kind of player.
It's on pace for 43 goal season.
Yeah, it's
awesome. But guys, he's playing with Conor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the only reason for sure.
Yeah. Playing with Conor. Yeah. Isn't that anytime somebody's successful on the Oilers? Guys, he's playing with Conor.
Yeah. Quit slighting Yamamoto like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dominic Cahoon did well there too.
Yeah, that's right.
Mikey, Hébert, what do you think, man? How did you see that thing roll out?
Man, it's exciting time to be an Oilers fan. Like, just to listen to NHL media say the Oilers are relevant again, it blew me away. I thought I had to.
What a difference a 5-game heater makes, eh?
I know. All of a sudden, we're in a spot. As I said to you off air, there's no way I'm predicting playoffs or not anymore. I just don't get this team. I wouldn't bet on anything, but hey, I don't believe in not critiquing a win, but I'll tell you what, it's pretty hard to be unhappy right now as a fan of the team and watch them go all out. And the guys, that you want to be going all out are going all out, in Conor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And the supporting cast is great. And lots is made of Vegas and their rush of injuries. We had a whole whack of we had 7 regulars out for a while. We're still coming back. We still don't have Nuge. And Puljujarvi looks like he needs to still maybe another game before he's top notch. We haven't seen the best of this team yet, and I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, kind of peaking at the right time, I'd say. I can't disagree with much of that at all. Lotzi, I know we were at the Tampa game together. Well, not together. We were in the building together. And then I was at the game in New Jersey. It's been pretty cool to go to the arena and watch that stuff live. I had a great time ISO camming with my own eyes and watching whatever I want to watch instead of what the TV wants to show me. So what have you seen over the last 5 games? How'd you like that game yesterday?
I mean, yeah, if you want to talk about yesterday's game, I think Jersey did a good job of taking advantage of us on turnovers in the offensive zone. Like they're a quick team. Like Jesper Bratt, looking before the game, seeing that he's a point-a-game player in the NHL right now, that blew me away. I couldn't believe it. Good on him.
Agreed. Seeing him live, I can see why. Man, he's fast. He's skilled.
Yeah, he's a fantastic skater, and he's got the hands to go with it now, apparently. But I was a little concerned coming into this homestand because you got 2 really good teams in Washington and Tampa Bay at the start, and then you bookend it with 3 games against teams that we should have beaten. But you know how well we perform in those games typically. So I was a little worried, but you know what? That was a huge win against Washington. They threw everything they could at us, including a last-second game-tying goal. We get the OT win, though. Tampa comes into our building, and we just we were the better team that day, plainly put. Like the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champs come in here, and we were the better team.
Mm-hmm. We played them all the game before too.
Yeah. And then the Detroit game, it looked like we were going to run them out of the building, and then we let them back in. So that was a little concerning, but we still found a way to get the W. Like Detroit threw everything they could at us, and that's a game where I've seen this team fold too many times before, but we found a way. And we did what we needed to do against Buffalo, and Jersey gave us another scare as well, but once again, we found a way. So, I mean,
none of them were Picassos, right?
Yeah, none of them were Picassos. Not a perfect homestand when you look at it, but the record's perfect. That's all we care about.
Scoring first.
Possible.
Scoring first.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, still some of the mistakes are still in the game, I think. Like you still see some of the falling back on their old ways, if you will, especially in that New Jersey game when they blew it. And, a couple games before that when they did as well with Washington. So, I'd still like to see them tighten a lot of that up. But ultimately, it's hard to complain with what we've seen. Like Ryan said, wins are wins. There's no pictures on the score sheet, and we're not looking for Picassos. We're looking for playoffs. So, what a difference a 5-game heater makes. It looks like we're in an incredibly better position than we were even a week ago, let alone 2 weeks ago. We're sitting at 35, 23-4, 74 points in the Pacific. We're 2 points behind the Los Angeles Kings and 2 points ahead of the Golden Knights. So, those three teams will dictate where. With games in hand. That's right. Thank you. So, those three teams will dictate the slots, right? And it's going to be down to, who doesn't want to play Colorado and who does want to play, if it's LA and the Oilers, then we're playing for home ice advantage. And I'd like it better if we had home ice advantage. I'll tell you that, because I think that LA can play a playoff type of hockey, right? They can really bang and grind, and they know how to win. Other than McClelland, he's been more of a regular season successful coach. So I'd like to see what he can do in the playoffs, but I don't hate our chances either. Durst, I know have been on record saying, if we line up against Colorado, you're worried and everybody else will be just fine with you. You still feel that way?
Yeah, I think Colorado is still a team that can do a lot of damage in a hurry. I don't like that matchup for us. As far as the Kings, I don't think it matters if we have home ice or not. It seems like fans in LA take a couple years to kind of figure out that they got something there. They're sort of bandwagon-ish. So I can't see the Staples Center just being, anything close to what Rogers Center will be. So, you go there, you win one game, and all of a sudden you're stolen home ice. And I don't think would be a problem for us against them.
Yeah, for sure. Is that the way you see it lining up? That it's going to either be a half-assed end of the season and it's Colorado, or do you see us still falling off and not making the playoffs? Where do you stand there?
No, I think we're pushing now. I think we're in a good spot. I don't see us just squeaking in the back door. I think we can climb the ladder a little bit here.
Yeah, I'd have to agree there. Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk about whether they're going to make the playoffs or not. Let's just assume that
yes,
they
you
will.
Are.
Let's assume that they will.
He knows I'll be all over him if he flip-flops again.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you're in that position where you're out of the wild card and into the divisional top 3, you're that many points ahead with games in hand of the wild card spot. That's pretty fair to say that, likelihood of playoffs is pretty likely at this point. So they've done what they need to do. I hate to quote Sutter, but I'll quote Sutter. Playing Colorado is a waste of 8 days. Like, Colorado is too good this year. Like, they're they're the tops in the league, bar none. The question that I think they've never, when's the last time have they got out of the second round with McKinnon? I don't think they have. So that's going to be the big test for them. Can they get over that mental block, right? And if they can, then I fully expect them to win the cup this year. So, if Edmonton ends up against them, which I think we're in a good spot not to, I think in anybody else in the West, you should have a good shot at winning the first round. I think the goaltending thing is kind of like we've got two guys that played some good games lately, and if they can find it in them to stay hot at this important time, you never know what happens. Like goalies have come out of nowhere in the playoffs, and everybody calls them voodoo, and that's exactly what they are.
This one's maybe not necessarily voodoo, Michael. Since Woodcroft took over, Mikko's been 14-2-1.
It's amazing what a little bit of a defensive system can give you, though, too, right?
Well, not being the coach's whooping boy.
Yeah, there's that too. Absolutely, 100%. You feel good about coming to the rink every day, and Koskinen,
part of it, man.
Koskinen talked about that, right? Like he talked about the mental side of his game. Maybe that's a big part of it. I don't know, but you know what? I'm happy with where this team's at right now, considering I did say multiple times in the past few weeks that I didn't think they were a playoff team.
Yep.
So I'm glad they're proving me wrong. I love being wrong about those things.
Yeah, that's what you're going to be wrong about, if anything, right?
And I mean, since then, what's really changed other than Tippett gone and Kane coming in?
Yeah, well,
the systems, I think the way they plug up the neutral zone has helped the defense incredibly. I think the way they keep that forward high is
Tippett things, and you know what, Tippett, crazy as it is, started it the last game, right? Like his last game putting Nuge on the third line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like taking the depth that everybody said we had at the beginning of the season and spreading it out to make it actual depth. Rather than
263 career coach games, and it took him to the 263rd to figure that out.
Yeah, like Woodcroft's not an idiot. When he needs a goal, he puts Draisaitl and McDavid out there, right? Like he's, you can't fault the guy for that. That's the nuclear option. It's just when you're playing it as your only line in a game multiple times in a season, it's that's
he uses it like a nuclear option. Like he doesn't go to that often.
That's exactly it. You're right. Yeah.
After a penalty kill, or third period if they're down or something.
Or the last minute of a period.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing that a little bit, but it's not like, okay, we're trailing, get out there. Like
as you should. Every coach in this world uses their best players on the ice in key situations, right? Every coach in the world. Woodcroft's no different. You can't fault him for that. But to use those two on the ice in for 40 minutes a night and and just ride them till they die.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Anyway, I've said my piece. I'm putting myself on mute.
That'll last long. He brought up Koskinen and talked a little bit about that, which I'm glad he did, because that I think, you guys, the biggest question mark we have right now is basically that is Koskinen under Tippett a thing of the past, and now Mikko under Woodcroft is a new goalie. Because if that's the case, and he is, maybe with that confidence comes consistency, we don't know that yet. How would we? He's never been confident. But let me ask you this, Lotzie. Who's the first person after Connor McDavid and that horn goes off and La Bamba starts playing? Who's the first person Connor McDavid goes to after every win?
I know Mikko Koskinen is well liked and respected in that room. And
you got her, buddy.
I mean, he's got every reason. They've got every reason to like the way he's playing right now. And we've watched Mikko here for a long time now to know that he struggles when he gets overworked, and we've seen evidence of it. Mm-hmm. I liked how he handled the question last week. Mm-hmm. So I can't remember who asked it, but somebody asked him what he thought about all that, and he was just like, "No, that's something you guys have made up." Right? The thing that we keep forgetting.
He bare made it up. We dealt with that on Oilers Live. He drove that whole bus out of town with Koskinen on it.
That's right. Still driving it.
So the thing we forget about Mikko Koskinen is that he's won a Gagarin Cup in the KHL. He's taken a team through an extended playoff run and won a championship before, right? Mm-hmm. So that, of course, is not the NHL, and that was a few years ago now. But he's proven that he can do that in the past.
On a stacked team that didn't have to abide by the salary cap when every other team in the league did. But, that's another story.
Of course, different set of circumstances for sure. But he was in net.
Yeah.
He's got that winning pedigree. That winning pedigree.
That's right.
That Keith type of, je ne sais quoi, that type of.
Keith's got some je ne sais quoi. Him and Bouchard had some pretty good je ne sais quoi on that first goal.
You're looking tonight, like Mike Smith was Calgary's best player in the 19 playoffs. It was a short run for them, but
oh man, was he ever?
He had an 898 save percentage that regular season.
Yeah.
Then he came out of nowhere and just had an incredible playoff series.
Right? Mike Smith was so good that I actually said positive things about a Calgary Flame after that series. Like that's how good Mike Smith was. Like he was the only reason that game wasn't done in the first night. Where
he was the only flame that showed up that series.
He's the only reason Calgary didn't throw in the towel on the first night and said, "Guys, we're just going home."
I wouldn't say
a waste of 5 days or 4 days.
I wouldn't say Koskinen's out of the woods now.
No,
but he's definitely playing better. Like he did a pretty good job of keeping Detroit in the game the other night.
He likes the theatrics for sure, right?
But you know what?
What about goaltending though? Like I'm thinking back to teams that have won the cup in the past decade, like Antti Niemi when he went to Chicago. Like, what had he done before he got to Chicago? Like nothing. Jordan Binnington, what had he done before he won the cup in St. Louis?
Well, there's maybe Mikko just thrives off drama like I do.
Exactly. You never know. All I'm saying is, like, you never know what's going to happen. Once you're in the playoffs, you just never know.
I think he plays better against the better competition, like the Oilers used to do for a long time.
That's fair.
So
I feel like we're shaking that reputation a little bit, to be honest. I think we've just kind of.
He hasn't, though.
No, fair. What's that, Michael? Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say Skidsy's listening on Twitch right now. He said it was Tichkowski from Post Media that asked the question.
Rob Tichkowski asked that question. That's right. Yeah. It's not like there's facts out there or stats that prove that he's streaky. I mean, that's just innuendo, Mikko. We all made that up. None of us watched games for the last 3.5 fucking years. Anyways, all right. Any last words on the playoffs or the stretch or anything on that? And then if so, we'll do that, and then we'll tee up Lotzi for his little segment. So, Durst, any final thoughts there?
It feels good to completely run the table at home. That's positive and promising, and it puts us in a whole better position than I think we thought we were going to be after that East Coast road trip where they did all right there too. One more point on that Eastern trip would have been huge, but to come home and not drop the first one because it's the first game back off a road trip, and all the excuses, or the last one because you're tired and because it's hard sleeping in your own bed, and
let the dog out in the middle of the night again.
Yeah, no excuses. Like they got it done. So let's see what happens.
For sure,
over the next 24 hours, and away we go.
What's your take on that, Michael?
Oh yeah, to echo what Durst is saying, I mean, how can you not be happy about 5 games at home? I think I was hoping for 3 of 5 going in, and to take all 5. And that's awesome. And to watch some of the falter, like LA faltered a little bit recently. Vegas is obviously really down in the dumps, and of course
lost Eichel now too.
Yeah, and lost Eichel too, and you know what? I don't feel the least bit of sorriness for them, because they never gave a shit when that happened to Edmonton, right? Because it's happened a lot. We've dealt with a lot of injuries in Edmonton, not to mention Conor McDavid being out, and how many times people say, this team is nobody without Conor, right? Is Vegas anybody without their star players? I don't think so. I mean, every team needs their star players. Oilers are no different, and they've proven to be.
They sure went from feel-good story to enemy number 1 pretty quick, eh?
Yeah. The other thing this highlights for me is how little people watch Oilers hockey that aren't Oilers fans, because we know as Oilers fans, hey, that's a 5-game win streak. Wasn't necessarily the best hockey we've ever seen in our time as Oilers fans, right? Like they got room for improvement. But now everybody that I know is coming up to me and saying, "Hey, your Oilers, they're doing awesome. Like they're really flying." You know, we know better, right? Like we know they're having some success, they're doing well, but there's lots of room for improvement. And if you were a hockey fan and you watched a lot of Oilers hockey, you probably wouldn't say like they're tops in the league right now. You'd say they still have some holes to fill and stuff, right? And we know that because we watch every game, but just tells me how little people, watch other teams and then they comment about it because they saw, 5 in a row means they're hot, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway,
Lotzie, what's your reaction to that comment?
I think you're right in saying that watching the team every night, we know the team still has some holes to fill. Like, I'm a little more bullish on the Oilers than a lot of other people are. Like, I don't know if you guys saw.
You and Josh have been both. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw Gregor's article about the 2-11-2 stretch being more of an outlier than anything, but like I'm totally on board with that line of thinking. Like, aside from that streak, which was largely COVID and injury, and there were so many factors in that were just outliers. And aside from that, we've been a team that wins about twice as often as it loses. Like, certainly not one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the league, but certainly well within the top 10. And
we're a good team. There's no doubt about it, right?
And we're still waiting on Nuge, right? Like the results under Woodcroft, like you look at their goals for. Now, the sample sizes in what I'm about to say are going to be a little off, but like you take the Oilers goals for in the Woodcroft era and put them up against everybody else this season. I have it in my article here. One sec. I put it up a little high. Oh no,
take Woodcroft's 20 games and extrapolate them out.
I think it's Colorado and Florida. They're the only teams scoring more than we are right now. Right? In goals for, I believe we were like 8. It's like we're top 10 in both metrics, and we're gonna get Nugent Hopkins back here in a hot minute. So I'm excited about what could happen in the spring here. Like if we get the Kings the first round, which it seems like we will, like I have no doubt that we can take them. They'll give us a run, maybe 5-6 games, but we can take them.
Yeah, it's setting up that way. It looks like it. I would agree. And I did read Gregor's article, and, it isn't something really groundbreaking that we haven't talked about on this show or on Michael's show, where ultimately we weren't as good as the 16-5-1 team that we started as, and we certainly weren't as bad as the 2-11 team that we streaked for there. I'm not sure we deserved all 5 of the wins on this homestand either, to be honest. Like this season is, I don't know, like we haven't seen a streak like this since Frank the Tank grabbed the green hat and went through the quad to the gymnasium. Like it's just kind of been that year. With that said, I think I'll give Michael a chance to pop any listener comments in, and then after that, we'll go to you for your segment.
Yeah, quiet so far. Lots of people watching on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter. But we got Skidsy on Twitch has said Nuge returns next Saturday by the sounds of it.
Yeah, that's true.
And that, that's something we've been talking about, so that's good. That's about it right now. I'll fill in as they come in, so feel free if you're listening in, watching the chat. We'll give your comments a shout.
Beautiful. Well, I know Michael was supposed to have a cute jingle for Lotzie here. I don't know. I'm not going to put him on the spot like I did last time.
No
He probably
jingle.
hasn't done his homework, so
no jingle.
We'll just tee it up. But I know you want to talk a little bit about some cap space. And just as a reminder, whenever Lotzie's on our show, he's got a segment. We're going to call it Lots of Lotzie, or a little bit of Lots of Lotzie. And tonight we'll talk about, the Oilers, how they're setting up after the season is over, and what kind of cap space is going to come clear, and that sort of thing. So over to you, a little bit of Lots of Lotzie.
All right. See, tomorrow's the trade deadline, and everybody's throwing ideas out for guys that they want to bring in, and what Holland should do. We should bring in a goalie. We need a second pairing left D-man. We should be trying to get every single player that's available because it's an all-in year. Well, let's go through the cap situation and what the Oilers could realistically give up without greatly impacting their roster and see what is possible here. So according to Cap Friendly, the Oilers today are sitting at $1,704,637 worth of cap space. Now that is all LTIR pool money. And in case you missed it today, Kyle Turris is on waivers, which means he's coming off of LTIR. So the way that LTIR works in this situation, you have to remember that his contract has been on the books the entire time. So it's not like that we're benefiting from the relief in the fact that we can spend over top of the salary cap limit right now. But when that player comes back, our spending doesn't change. Our cap just comes down. So we're losing cap space by activating Kyle Turris. Now, if you take that 1.7 number that I just said and subtract his 1.65 number, you don't leave yourself very much cap space. It's only $54,637. And that would bring the active roster up to 22 players. So there's not even a need to send anybody down in order to activate Turris at this point. So that's not a whole hell of a lot of cap space to work with on a trade deadline day. It's literally money in, money out. However, one thing that they could do with Turris is they can send him down to Bakersfield now, since he's likely going to clear waivers tomorrow. So doing that would save the Oilers another $1.125 million in cap space. It's not his whole total amount, because that's just the amount that gets buried in the minors when you send someone down that's over that amount of money. So by doing that, the Oilers would end up with $1,179,637 worth of cap space that they could use on Monday. So let's say hypothetically we want to trade Josh Archibald at $1.5 million. You take that 1.179 number, add 1.5 to it. That's the value of the player that you could bring in for Josh Archibald. And then any trade other than that has to be money in, money out. So it's not as if Ken Holland has a lot of cap space to play with. Now, teams this year, teams at this time of year, they want to add, right? The Oilers aren't the Bruins are able to add Hampus Lindholm with trading some draft picks. Now they moved John Moore out in that deal too, but he wasn't really playing for them anyway. Florida adds Claude Giroux. They gave up Owen Tippett, but again, he wasn't really playing for them all that much anyway. So they've essentially added Claude Giroux. The Oilers aren't going to be in a position to do that because they have to trade somebody significant off their roster in order to add somebody significant. So really what we should be expecting is a depth addition, where most likely going to be on defense, because we have a hole at 3LD. You could also potentially see a move for a depth scoring forward, but that's less likely. Now, the guys that we could realistically give up, Kyle Turris would be a good example of a guy we could give up. Now, if the plan is to bury him in Bakersfield, then trading him would only give you another few $100,000 in addition to the number I already told you. So Josh Archibald would be a good example of a guy you can move $1.5 million. His unvaccinated status means that he's not going to be playing on road games for the Oilers unless we happen to get the Flames in the first round or second round. So he's probably more useful to an American team for that reason. The other guy on the roster that I could see potentially moving is William Lagesson. $725,000 cap hit, so it doesn't buy him much cap space, but he's in that 6-7 hole that the Oilers are going to be trying to improve upon at this deadline. So I could see him being used as somebody to make the money work. So as far as draft picks, we've got a first. We have our second and third round picks are tied up in the conditions of the Doug Keith deal. We don't know which one we will have, but we'll have one of them. So theoretically, we could do another conditional trade involving the pick that we'll retain. Then we have our 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks in this draft. All of the picks in next year's draft. Now, the only prospects there's not many prospects that I wouldn't touch at this point, but I would say Philip Broberg would be the main one that I would really not touch at all. Aside from that, it's pretty much fair game on anybody else. So that's really what we're working with. So that doesn't leave a lot of space for big time sexy moves, as many people are wanting, but that's a realistic expectation for you for tomorrow.
I like it. Thank you very much. Yeah, and that good breakdown on the tourists. That's it doesn't surprise any of us that he cleared waivers. I don't think so. Good on.
Find out at noon, but yeah, he's not likely getting played.
Right. So all that said, I guess, let's make that a little bit of a transition into, as we approach trade deadline tomorrow and our thoughts on where the Oilers might go. I would wholeheartedly agree with Ryan in the fact that, I wouldn't see a lot of big trades happen. I think that it'll be a pretty quiet day for the Oilers, to be honest. And part of that reason, I think, is that the Oilers, honestly, with that 5-game homestand, just sent a message to Ken Holland and said, we good. I think that he has confidence in the team he's put there, and they have confidence in themselves. So probably some peripheral ads, but Mikey's been sitting there patiently for a while. So we'll go back to him. And Durst, what do you think? What's going to happen tomorrow from your perspective, and where do you think Ken Holland goes from here?
Ball for Chara. Who says no?
I wouldn't hate it.
I guess it's probably Chara.
Yeah, maybe Chara. Yeah,
I think strengthening the blue line is probably the play that's going to happen. I don't think the goaltender situation is going to get addressed, unfortunately. But with Mikko's game coming on, I'm not as nervous about it as I was, probably about 6 weeks ago.
Holland, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think something does happen on the Archibald front. I'm kind of joking a little bit, but wishful thinking with the Chara talk. But I think Archibald does get dealt. And I think it's just because, he's a valuable piece to somebody where he can play more, and with the lack of really, we're not playing any Eastern Canadian teams the rest of the way, so he can only play home games, and in the States he's got more options. So I think that's something that probably could happen.
Yep, I would agree with that there. I would also agree that I think our powder's dry on the goaltending front. Mikko's probably helped with that, absolutely. There's no doubt about the 14-2-1 record, putting a little bit of quiet talk to all of the chatter. I agree with you on the Archibald front. I can't see why we wouldn't trade him. I can see somebody maybe like Luke Glendening that Holland has always been in love with and is employed by his best friend Jim Neal down there in Dallas, and they both make exactly $1.5 million a year. So maybe that's just a hockey trade where there's a 1-for-1, money in, money out, like Lotzie said. Michael, what do you see in your crystal ball?
First off, you talk about Mikko, making it so that he doesn't have to make a trade. There wasn't a trade to begin with. Like there was nothing. Was nothing available. What Mikko did was save Holland's ass, right? Like what this whole thing. Now he can say to media and everybody, well, Koskinen's playing well enough now. We can keep him. The reality is there's still a lot of uneasiness about Koskinen among the Oilers fan base. Right, we all know how inconsistent he is, and Detroit was no, we joke about it, but how frustrating is it to watch a game like that, seemingly get away from us, and then only to score our way out of it, and and that's not going to happen in the playoffs, right? People play tighter,
No.
So is Koskinen capable? Yeah, but he saved Holland's ass. That's all he did was he made it possible for Holland to say, he's playing well enough. I don't have to make a trade. There was no trade out there, and just like Ryan says, there's not a lot of cap space. We got there's it's got to be money in, money out. And there's frankly on this team, there's not a lot of guys that you can money out with, right? Nobody's picking up. Nobody's likely to pick up Kassian. Archibald is maybe, right? Like the way he plays, and somebody's going to like that, right? And he's 1.5 is easy enough. And if we're getting a depth guy that can play in the U.S. and in Canada, then yeah, there's teams that would take a look at that, but there's just not a lot for us. So. And we do know that Holland is I wouldn't say he's the shrewdest trade warrior out there, right? Like he just doesn't make a lot of big trades, and so I think was it who was it came out and said Susie was a possibility. I think that's probably
Shog maybe.
Yeah, Rashog. It was.
There's been a bunch of guys. Rashog.
Yeah, Rashog was the first one, and there's a couple. GT on YouTube says any chance the Oil can trade for Big Z. Look, you know what? That was a nice article. I think it was Zach Lang from Oilers Nation. Everybody would love to have. Everybody would love to have Zdeno Chara going into the playoffs, but it's a pipe dream. Right, it's a straight off the pipe dream. Is what that is. It's just not going to happen.
And I'm not against that dream. I mean, he is getting old, but he's still 6'9" and has, like I said on Twitter today, that go gadget stick that you're by him, but you're not really by him ever. I could handle him on our defense, but I just don't see him being up for that either. So
that's it. Yeah. So the only thing
he'd
that
bring
I
us
have
all the intangibles Duncan Keith should have.
That's right. Yeah. And that's true, right? But at the end of the day, this is maybe the least excited I've been about an Oilers trade deadline. Although, you know what? If you win 5 in a row, I'm all right. I'm all right this year. Now I've kind of after the 5 in a row little streak here, and we still got Nuge coming back. This might be the first time where I'm all right with this because we don't really have the team that can take us there, but you never know, right? Playoffs are a whole new season and you just never know. And so why, take Holland the way Holland is and live with it this year, which is patience, and hope he doesn't give anything drastic away, which we know he won't. And be thankful for that because we're going to go into next year with, I think a team that we can build off of with a coach that we can build off of. And I think they're putting themselves in a good chance to have a playoff against a team they can win. And we all know what Edmonton's like in the playoffs. It's insane, right? And when you get a building like that that's going insane, and they will. Mm-hmm. We've been waiting 2 years for this, right? Have we not? Like we've been waiting to be in that building, screaming our ass off and doing whatever we can to get this team going. We might even see Kassian, who dropped the gloves the other night. We might see the old Kassian crush come back. We could see a whole bunch of different things. Sit tight, Holland. Maybe make that trade for Susie. I'd be all right with that, but sit tight. That would be my advice at this point. But Koskinen's really bailed him out.
Yeah. Well, you're on record saying you wouldn't mind seeing the Oilers pick up a Mark Piszczek or somebody like that either. Right?
Oh, yeah, I'd love that. Piszczek would be.
I think to Lotzie's point, somebody like Lagesson becomes redundant now, right? I mean, if we're, with Russell healthy, he's been our perennial seventh guy forever. Lagesson's been the eighth defenseman, what seems like forever, and doesn't really climb the chart unless there's injuries, and it doesn't really look like he's going to. His agent's not doing him any favors either, I wouldn't say. On the right-hand side, I along with Piszczek, I could see a minor deal, like maybe, that Colin Miller that's available in Buffalo. I know when he played for Vegas, he was playing top pairing minutes for a while in some of that playoff run. And has been to a final. I wouldn't hate Ryan Braun if he came in for depth on the right side. My fear on the right side is our youth, right? There's without Cody Ceci there, if there was a Cody Ceci injury, I don't like who has to step up into a number one role there, whether it's a Barry or a Bouchard. Now I know Bouchard's played number one minutes, but I don't know about that in a 7-game series and going to a playoff run. So I'd like to see somebody on the right side. I know Lotzie feels differently about that, and I'll let him get there because he's pretty staunch on it needing to be on the left side. So this is my side of the debate. So I'd rather see somebody on that right side, and I hope we pick somebody up there. Again, I think we may see a Luke Glendening for Archibald or some sort of hockey trade like that. You said earlier, Lotzie, that maybe Broberg's off the table. If it was me, I'd probably add Bourgault and Holloway to that as well. I don't know if I'd be trading those guys. But
Holloway for sure. Yeah, I should have said Holloway too.
Yeah,
Fortunately, I have no problem with.
Yeah, for sure. So I know, I had a little debate on a private thread. Why do you think that the left side's more important?
So for me, when the roster's at full health, we've got the right side pretty set with Bouchard, Barry, and Ceci. And on the left, you've got Darnell Nurse, you've got Duncan Keith, and then you've got a big old question mark with been a rotating cast, whether it's Russell or Cuckoo or Lagesson or Niemelainen or Broberg. It's just been a mess.
Fair part.
Right? So if your argument is Ceci goes down on the right side, what happens? Well, I'd say you throw Barry up on the top pair. Barry's not a shutdown guy, but he can outscore his mistakes in most cases. In a 7-game series, in a short window, if Ceci's not out for a long time, I'm okay with that. Really, I think that's not a horrible insurance policy. And then you slip Chris Russell down to the third pairing on the right side. I think there's a way to get around that. If you lose Darnell Nurse or Duncan Keith, all of a sudden you've got a righty playing on his offside, or you're calling up one of Niemelainen or Lagesson or Broberg. You're throwing more guys into higher roles where they're above their heads. And I think that's a bigger issue to look out for in the playoffs than having Bush or Barry playing top pair.
Okay, question for you guys. Once everybody's back and healthy, are we going back to 11-7, or are we playing 12-6?
Yeah, I was thinking about that today. That's a really good question, Michael. I'd rather see us go 11-7 again, to be honest. I think with that forward strength we have, you might as well roll those guys out there where we have a 12th forward that's getting 3 minutes of ice time a night anyways. And what I like about the defense when it's set up that way is you've got your veterans still getting their 20 minutes a night, whether it's Keith, Nurse, and Ceci. You can split all those minutes up amongst the other guys and put them and use them to their strengths, which Woodcroft knows how to do. What do you think, Durs?
Yeah, I mean, you bring Nuge back into the fold. You've got another guy that can take face-offs and play center, and you can play that minor hockey double shift a guy every once in a while, and then I would like to see Broberg as part of that 7 though. I think
you don't even need the double shift really. I think honestly, the way that Woodcroft deploys his bench, he's always finding ways. He did it again in last game there. Cassian goes and gets his face smashed and breaks his orbital bone, and then goes out there for the boys to try to change the momentum. Takes on, I don't know who that hairy behemoth is. I heard them say ex-Oil. Yeah, ex-Oil King. I didn't even know that. I was like, man, the guy's look at that. He looks like an animal. Yeah. But Cassian, I could tell the way he was fighting. He was hiding that side of his face, and there was no way he was taking that out of his arm. But ultimately, good for him. It changed the momentum. The boys saw it happen, and I think that was important.
I have no doubt that Cass even told him, "Hey, lay off that side a little bit before they go." I mean, that was a gentleman's agreement going into that fight, and you know what? Good on him. Right. And I think, right from the get-go, Cassian was looking to get, drop the gloves and just sort of prove to the team that he was back and ready. And and I think, that's the kind of message he's trying to send there is I'm ready for a go, right? I'm ready for the playoffs. I'm the guy that, there's been some criticism about the way I've been playing, and I'm the guy that you want to call on, right?
Textbook stage fight, or just a good little conversation saying, let's do this?
Oh, it was staged for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they talked about it a couple times it was just a matter of timing, right? But you know what? I'm all right with that. I'm good with that. Look, I want to see Cassian do well because we know he can. I don't have any hope for it, if you want the truth, but I want to see it. Yeah, maybe this is maybe that was his sort of notice to tell everybody, look, I'm back and I'm ready to play a demanding role. As far as going with 11-7, you said, Ryan, you said Broberg, like
I did.
Or you did.
Dursa did.
Yeah, I like we had this argument about Nemo. We need some like team grit, and we're just talking about Cassian. And there's no, you know what? Broberg, honestly, like the guy has got to learn. I love Broberg, but he's got to learn how to get out of the big hits, or he's going to have a short career. And he's, you know, he played injured in the World Juniors, right? Because he took a couple big hits. It reminds me a lot of Taylor Hall. Like always getting smashed, right? And Taylor Hall grew out of that. And I think Broberg can too, because he's got the hockey sense and the skill, but he's going to have a short career at this rate.
Broberg needs to learn that he can skate himself out of trouble.
Yeah. And so having said that, I just don't think that he's ready for playoff hockey.
You guys realize he's out 2 to 4 weeks with an ankle
injury. Yeah,
too,
so
right?
there you go. Yeah.
Good luck skating well and staying out of trouble when you're not confident in your ankle. But that all said, I'd like to see him there too, Durst. I'm just not sure it's realistic right now. And that said, also, I know that hadn't happened yet when you and I were debating earlier, Ryan, but it almost kind of helps my case a little bit, man, because that's just one more guy on the right side that we're lacking in the depth now. But
playoffs start later. Like I think they start at the end of April this year, not the beginning.
Yeah, they do. I just if you haven't played hockey in a month and you're coming into the NHL playoff speed, that's not good for Broberg. And like Michael has said several times, he doesn't know how to stay out of danger. And I think I said it to you on your show, Michael, is that him and Bouchard share that. They don't have a radar for danger. Like they're just so cool, calm, and collected that I think they think they'll get themselves out of every jam they're ever in, and sometimes it's just too late.
It's a junior hockey mentality
to the boards.
Right?
That's right, exactly. Yeah.
And they'll grow out of that. They'll grow out of it for sure.
For sure. Anybody else want to comment in the 11-7 or 12-6? Did we?
I mean, my thought on 11-7. It was good while Keith was out, just because we had so many of those young guys.
It is good when Keith is out. You're right.
Honestly, it was because you're taking a top 4 role and you had a bunch of guys and nobody was ready for that role. So instead of putting it all on one person, you put it on 3 people, right? So it helped for that stretch. But what I noticed when we did 11-7 for an extended stretch of time is same old. It was basically like watching a Tippett run team. Is that Conor and Leon and the top end guys just got tired, right? They're just exhausted after a while. Like you got 2 guys who get the odd shift, but aside from that, you're rolling 3 lines. So I think for a whole playoff run, I think it's a little bit much to ask of those top guys, but it's a good get out of trouble scenario if someone goes down on the back end. Yep, for sure. And
I'm going to come right back to.
I was going to say with the way McLeod is playing, I mean, playing that 12, like having him on the 4th line, it just changes the outlook of that 4th line, right? Like I think he's earned a spot in the top 9, to be fair, but at the same time, his usefulness right now on the Oilers team is centering that 4th line.
Yeah, I agree. And he's a message to the top 9. If you don't play your minutes, then McLeod can come up and play the wing too, right? Yeah.
His confidence with the puck is really showing. He's looking like a veteran guy when he has the puck. He's not just it's not a grenade or a hot potato. He's looking to make a play and not afraid to handle it a little bit.
His confidence has grown exponentially. And what I noticed, I did have my eyes on him on the ISO cam a few times in that New Jersey game. And he just never stops moving. I bet you, if you took everybody's ice time and averaged it out per 60, I bet you nobody skates more kilometers than Ryan McLeod. He's just constantly going. But I wanted to come back and stick with Lotzi, because as we go around the horn here and I try to keep this on track, I don't think we gave him an opportunity to talk about trade targets. I know he teed us up for the cap and that sort of thing. Who do you see in your magic 8 ball there, buddy? Do you think that there's, somebody coming in particular, or where do you feel there?
I mean, there's so many unknowns, so many factors. Like, I'll say a few names for sure. I think that the 5-game homestand here, the little win streak, is a message to Holland saying that, hey, like, help us. Like, we've earned this, right? So I personally think I'm going to go out on a limb and say they will make 2 trades. They'll add 2 players. I'll say it might take more than 2 trades.
I agree. Yep.
Like, I see a defenseman coming for sure. I like the idea of Soucy just because he's got next year as well, and he can play either side. So that sets up a scenario where you can trade Tyson Barrie and have Carson Soucy on his offside, making a fraction of the money. I think that would be a big time help for next year. Or
would you have to package Yamamoto to make room for Evander Kane?
Honestly,
anyways, go on.
Yamel's been playing really well lately.
Yeah, yes.
Earlier in the year, I would have said, no problems trading Yamel, but he's playing real well right now. I do think we need to look at rebuilding the right side over the summer, and again, conversation for another day. But so Carson Soucy's a name. Andy Green out of the Islanders, if we strike out of Chara, that's another guy that I'd be really interested in. Like, third pairing lefty, shutdown type of role. Played a big role for the Islanders last couple of years on their playoff runs. Josh Brown out of Ottawa, a little bit of a younger target, but physical guy. He'd be a good add for what we need right now. Another guy that I was kind of surprised at, I'm just going through teams that are out of it. But
Sellers for sure.
I don't know how the Sharks feel about dealing in division, but Radim Šimek, if we can find a way to make the money work there, which I think it's reasonable. I mean, there's a way.
They do owe us future considerations.
Yeah, they sure do. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I think he would be a nice add as well. But those are some names. Up front, though, nobody's talking about anything up front for the Oilers. None of the insiders are speculating on it. But
Kubalik was out there. But
I'm going to be bold and say they'll do it. They'll do something. Derek Brassard's a guy I've been high on for a while. I feel he plays center or wing, and he's still producing at about a half a point a game clip. Vinny Hinostroza, I think he's proving to be an annoying guy that can put up some points. Let's see here on my list. Andrew Cogliano would be a nice bottom of the roster.
A little homecoming.
Needing our Sharks to help us out on that one a little bit.
You want to grab Gagne and Nielsen too? Play the kid line?
Yeah.
Hey, why not?
The 37-year-old kid line?
Yeah. PRV out there anywhere? Or
hope. We all have hope.
Yeah.
The other guy that I kind of was looking up and down Detroit's roster at that might be of some interest is Vlad Nemesnikov. Cap hit is reasonable. It's not impossible that we can make that work, but he's got some skill. He can play up and down your lineup.
Plays with a lot of energy. Yeah.
So I think that would be a great add if we could find a way to do that. Like, we need to find a way. If we're going to add anything up front, it's depth scoring to just further bolster it. Right, especially if you've got Nugent Hopkins on the third line, it'd be nice to give him something a little more talented than Fogle.
So, guys, they're going to
think about making a phone call to Michigan to his old protege and looking at Mark Stahl or a Letty or something like that.
Stahl would be.
Letty, I think, is a bit of a pipe dream. Like, even if they retain half, like that would take a little too much gymnastics. Stahl, I think, is just too big, too slow. Yeah, he lit us up 2 goals the other night.
Oh, but Chara isn't.
Like Mike said,
we're inviting the biggest, slowest with open arms, but Mark Stahl's not good enough.
Yeah, but you still can't get by Chara's stick. You might get by him, but
there's guys still trying to get by Chara's stick right now.
Mark Stahl's still trying to get by Chara.
From their last cup run, I think they're retired.
So
retired Sedins, yeah.
Lotsberg, you've pretty much named the rest of the league, but I do want to say
Getzlaf, Perry.
That's right. Yeah, you're onto one thing. I mean, I've been saying Holland's not going to do much. He'll do something, right? And he he's taken the whole team with him, the whole management team with him to Colorado to do this, right? And so they're going to be negotiating together. They're going to be on the phones. They're going to be there, and they're doing something. They're working on some stuff. So we'll see one or two, and I totally some of those names. I mean, I don't know who you left out, but
trying to cover my bases.
yeah. You know what?
No matter who.
You're gonna be. Yeah, we could get Avery. We could sign Avery.
Yeah.
I mean, I was saying in the chat that we did need a little bit of somebody that is gonna piss teams off. He'd be that guy. We can't sign Avery, or the Kings will sign The Rock, and then we're in trouble. That's right. We do have a couple comments here. Everybody lost an ego on YouTube said, I heard there is a riff in the Vancouver room between Besser and someone. If we could get him, I'd trade Puljujarvi and Cassian to try and get that done. Besser might be a suppressed star. Skidsy on Twitch says Nemestikov is good. It's great. I mean, do any of you three, and I'm sorry to steal your thunder here, Dash, but do any of you three think a blockbuster is worthwhile? Like, I mean, trading Puljujarvi is a blockbuster trade, right?
No,
I mean,
not worthwhile.
Yeah, no, but for anyone, is there a blockbuster guy like a Puljujarvi? Would you entertain trading him for somebody that you didn't mention?
I'd have to hear a name. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I wouldn't trade for Besser anyway. Yeah, it's too many.
Wow, Vancouver's not trading within the Pacific. Let's just start right there.
That's the other thing.
And the guy that he feuds with is JT Miller, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, and Miller's pretty popular, I think, in that dressing room too. So
yeah, I think so too. Well, Besser has that same type of reputation as Draisaitl outside of the dressing room, I think, where he looks like he's lazy and sometimes and can show body language that looks negative, but I don't know. I think in both cases it just comes from a good place. But hey, we don't all love our coworkers, right, Nurse?
What do you mean? I'm kind of fond of you, you know?
Oh yeah, call me after the show.
Call me after the show.
Never.
Oh man, the heavy hockey octagon coming up next.
Hey, now we're talking.
Pay-per-view.
He'll bring his cat. I'm not doing that.
Pay-per-view. People would pay for that. I'd pay for that. I'd put in $5.
And pay a top dollar for that.
That's right, a top dollar. You bet I would. All right, back to
well, let's go around the horn for some last words then, maybe. I don't know. We've probably rang a few off the post for one evening. I don't know. I guess we'll maybe start there, Durst. You want to tee up anything for last words or any final comments? And then I will come back to you for the very end.
Yeah, I think, a couple peripheral moves do happen tomorrow. I think I wasn't expecting much when we were going through that big losing skid, but now that they've shown they can, they can beat anybody. They knocked off the Panthers. They've knocked off the Lightning. So they can compete. So they still need a little bit of help, and I'm not sure if it's a left side or right side D, but I think doing either one to kind of solidify the back end a little bit more will be helpful. I do like Nurse and Cece as a top pairing. I'm confident when they're on the ice that not a lot of bad is going to go on during the course of a game. I can't say the same when it gets a little bit deeper in the lineup. Like, I'm not as down on Keith as you are, but him and Bouchard together, I am not in love with that pairing. But I think right now that's as good as we can do. So I think bringing in somebody that's a little bit more of a stay-at-home defenseman to play with either one of those guys will help out this group. And you know what? I don't think a lot needs to be done to the forward group, but if you can help it out, great. So yeah, that's what I think.
Cool. Any thoughts on the upcoming week then? We got Colorado Monday, Dallas Tuesday, San Jose Thursday back home, and then off to Calgary to play in the Saddle Dome for Saturday on Hockey Night in Canada. So 4 games. where does the streak end up, or how does our record look against those 4 teams, Durs?
Yeah, I think they come out of this with, I'm going to say 4 points.
4 points. Any
Yeah.
further guesses other than that? We're just going to split. Are you taking the wins on Dallas and San Jose? And
You know what? I think I'm going to put my neck out there and say we can beat Colorado and we beat Calgary.
And we lose to the Dallas and San Jose in between. Come down off the high. All right. That's it for you. Mute that guy. Bear, what's final thoughts on trade deadline, playoff standings, anything from that perspective?
Yeah. So, just trade deadline, like I said, don't expect anything big. And everybody agrees on that. There's nothing out there. And there's not a lot. We just can't afford it, for one. And I am now all right with that. Like, I've kind of allowed myself to kind of just to accept that as a as maybe not a bad thing, right? We can go into next year with a team that for once isn't hobbled by bad trades, right? Especially at the deadline when a lot of bad trades can be made. So, and if we do something, great. I certainly hope we win a first round at the very least. As for the upcoming week, I mean, look, we've got Colorado, I think, is the toughest one there. I think we're going to come out and beat Calgary. That one is just, to me, there's a bit of we've got something to prove after the 3-1 loss.
Pride on the line.
Yeah, some pride on the line. It's hockey night in Canada. It's a lot of different things, and the Oilers are going to come out. Cassian should be in. Depending on whether Archibald's still an Oiler, he should be in the lineup, right? This team is going to come out with a lot more fire than they had the last game. I think that last game caught us kind of at a bad time, to be fair. Mm-hmm. Colorado, I wouldn't say we're going to beat them. I mean, we should beat Dallas and San Jose, so I'll say 6 points. Colorado's just too good during the regular season right now. We'll see.
Yep, I 100% stole my thunder. That's exactly where I would have went with it. I think that we'll come out and end the winning streak against Colorado with a loss, but then come right back on our horse and take it to Dallas, San Jose, build a little bit more confidence, and then for all the same reasons, we play Calgary well. They've never really had an answer for McDavid and Draisaitl over the long term. Final thoughts on the trade deadline, playoffs, Lotzie? Anything you want to add there?
I think I should probably throw a few more names in the hat there. Everybody,
go ahead. The floor's yours, buddy.
Giving you a hard time tonight. It's because your name was first on the marquee that I'm giving you a hard time. It's jealous.
We all need to know who's Arizona's 15th defenseman.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't pronounce it.
I will throw Mason Appleton in there just because I like back to his Winnipeg days. But anyway,
Logan Stanley, sure. Let's get Adam Lowry. Send them all over.
Yeah, hey, Andrew Kopp. There you go.
Yeah.
No, it's the Colorado Calgary this week. I think we got the 2 top teams in the Western Conference. We've shown what we can do against the top teams in the East over the last couple of weeks, and we've shown quite favorably against them, even though we didn't get the results we want in all situations. But Colorado's down Landeskog, we're down Nuge. That's kind of even, so let's go head-to-head, see how that goes. I don't like our chances, but it's a good measuring stick game. And then by the time we get to Calgary on Saturday, we're going to be like, if Nuge is coming back for that game, then hey, we're full health, assuming nothing else happens. Knock on wood. But I think 4 points is probably a realistic expectation for the week. Tread water after the unreal couple of weeks we've just had. But I'm really excited for these Colorado Calgary games just to see how we stand up against the best teams in the West. I think we'll do. I think they'll be good hard games. Like I don't think they're going to be easy games.
Yeah, we know how we can perform best on best versus the East now. So time to see how we can perform best on best versus Colorado. I would agree. So you've got 4 points on record. Durst is on for 4. Michael and I agree. Fools seldom differ. But my final words on the trade is I do think that I may have something figured out, okay? And it might fix our goaltending. So we all know our there's no value in any of our, like, we don't have cap to spend. We don't have really the hockey assets to spend. We don't have term to give. But sometimes there's another way, and maybe Holland could try and give up his most prized possession and try and make some sort of trade with that prized possession. So here's the way I kind of see it going down. Kenny goes down to Philly and he's looking for a goalie to steal. He's in a bind because he's fallen behind and he's willing to make a deal. So a young Hart kicking out the pucks and playing it hot. Old Kenny sensed another Oilers slump and said, "Boy, let me tell you what. I guess you didn't know it, but I'm a goaltender too. And if you care to take a dare, I'll make a bet with you. Now, you play pretty good tender, boy, but give old Kenny his due. I'll bet a guidebook of gold against your soul because I think I'm better than you." So the boy said, "My name's Carter, and it might be a sin, but I'll take your bet and you're going to regret because you're old and you can't win." That's all I got. All right. Dursa, final words?
Well done.
Not sure I can follow that, but wow.
I can keep going if you want.
Yeah.
Freestyle it.
"My name's Carter, and it might be a sin." No, sorry.
Freestyle it, Dursa. Freestyle it. Come on. Yeah. Give him a little bit of a beat there, Lotsberg. Let's go. Come on. Oh, man.
There we go. We just took it totally off the rails.
Yeah.
You know what? There's some other things that, a creative GM would be doing.
Yeah, trade your stat and guidebook.
With this deadline. Like next year, there's some problems that are going to obviously be here. What do you do with Yamamoto? Do you re-sign JP, Patrick, or Evander Kane? I almost pulled the Patrick Kane. So there's some questions that need to be answered there. And I don't think we're getting any of that tomorrow. I really don't. I think, that's all pushed to the summer. And, his summer is going to be something else to talk about, like, what do you do with your goaltending again? Like you've pushed back. I think all that really happens tomorrow is a depth defenseman and probably Josh Archibald on the way out for another kind of depth forward. And that's kind of what we see. I'm excited for the day. I think we always are, but if we go to bed tonight thinking that, Ken Holland's going to be Kevin Lowe and have the best trade deadline day in hockey history, I think we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. It's going to be a pretty ho-hum day, and we might not see a deal right until the very, the last 15 minutes of the deadline. And we might not see anything at all just because, Holland showed us with the way he handled Puljujärvi that he's not afraid to wait for his grain price to be where he wants before he does anything. And I think that's going to be kind of how he approaches tomorrow. If, people are asking a first round pick for, a 6th, 7th defenseman, nothing's going to happen. And I don't blame him really. I mean, I'd rather him be a little bit shrewd with that kind of, that kind of ask on a depth D. I'm okay with that. Stockpile your weapons for when you really need them, if that's going to be the case. And this team's showed that they can compete anyway if you don't do anything. I think they should try to solidify the group, but I still think the Achilles heel of this team is the goaltending, and that's not getting addressed tomorrow. So don't put all your chips on the table just to be losing them all for nothing. I don't think that's worth it. If you guys want to follow that up, you can. If not, we can.
Perfect teams have won Stanley Cups before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess we saw like in 2006 that, Kevin was pretty active that day, but I still wouldn't say that was a perfect team. I still would say we were Cinderella going up against Detroit, and, we went on a hell of a run. So
anything's possible with two guys named McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Exactly. And that's why I think, we're not out of games against Colorado. We're not out of a series against them. I still think our goaltending is the real thing that gets kind of exposed there, but
Nobody expected Montreal to beat Toronto last year in the first round.
Yeah, they can keep us in it.
Columbus to sweep Tampa Bay in the year they were
3 years ago.
Yeah, and I also think like our forward group, if they're confident, can overcome, just about any adversity that's put our way. I think they're that good.
Yeah. Well, Darce, you tie things up like you stick to small talk. So where do we put our sticks and where do we reach?
You don't even tell me where to put my stick, buddy. I'll tell you where to put your stick.
We thought the show was off the rails with the beatboxing.
Who the hell do you think you are?
These segues from Dash are unreal tonight.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll close this off. Thanks everybody for watching. Wherever you get your heavy hockey content, whether that's YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, or Facebook. Thank you all for watching. Bet99, check them out. Place some bets if you'd like, and for all your articles that you want to read up on the Oilers, check out heavyhockey.com. There's some new content up there, and I think some new stuff coming in the next day or two, about the whole deadline and trade ideas and all that fun stuff. Thanks everybody for watching. Keep your sticks on the ice, keep reaching for the stars, and keep your day job, Dash, because that rap career can wait a little bit. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Go Oilers.
Mics are still hot for about 2 minutes. Anybody want to do a quick beatbox while we're thanking everybody for tuning in? No?
Carter played like Smitty. They say he battled hard. His broke loose in Philly, and Kenny's lost his nards. But if you win, you get the stat and guidebook made of gold. But if you lose, old Kenny brings you home.
Nice. Have a good night.
That had a